Hey guys, what's going on? Please let us know if you can hear us. So we're excited. We're just gonna have fun tonight. We're gonna do a live Q&A and we're gonna give away a free ticket to our conference. And the way to enter, if you didn't read the post on social media, you just sign up for our Patreon, which is only $5, and you're automatically entered to win a free ticket. And we're gonna announce the winner next Thursday on next week's episode. And if you're already a Patreon member, you're going to be automatically entered to win a free ticket for our conference. So, that being said, make sure you go sign up if you want a free ticket. We'd love to see you guys there. The venue itself officially sold out the other night as far as the rooms available on site. As always, there's camping available, nearby Airbnbs, hotels. The conference is not sold out, but the venue itself is sold out. But
Rooms at the venue are sold out.
right,
Just to be clear, the conference is not sold out. I just know people will hear sold out, and
right.
how
So,
people are.
but you can also, what people have done the past 2 years is they put themselves on a waiting list or the cancellation list because
Mhm.
inevitably people always cancel. Stuff comes up and there will be openings. So if you call up there, you can put your name on the cancellation list and they'll call you. So it's always worth calling up there and asking. Um,
Mhm.
but tickets are available. Rebelsofdisclosure.com, and we have the early bird special going right now. And the early bird special is for the live stream pass and the in-person pass, and that's going to end on midnight on Black Friday. And the in-person early bird pass not only is discounted, but it comes with a free T-shirt, and you pick your T-shirt size at checkout, and we'll have this shirt ready for you at the door when you check into the conference. So I guess I'm gonna have to repeat a lot of this later for the people who aren't here at the very beginning. But how's it going, Aaron? What's going on?
It's going well. It's going well. How are you?
Perfect. I just got back from XCon. I'm not
Yeah.
that.
How was the conference?
It was great actually. It was very intimate. But it was such a beautiful energy. It was just the right crowd, and we had a blast. It was Margie K outdid herself, and it honestly was one
Nice.
of the most enjoyable times. And I can't say enough good things about it. It was really fun. And I
Awesome.
was actually introduced to some of the speakers I didn't know, I wasn't aware of, and two of them blew my mind. And hopefully we can get them on the show. Sev
Yeah.
Tak, which was one of them, who you
Dev
know,
Talk. Yeah. Yeah. She's awesome. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Hopefully.
there's another guy who has some really interesting information about like the tunnel network and underground bases and some ET like black projects and stuff. It was really good. So anyway,
Nice.
guys, if you have any questions for us, please, when you put your question in the chat, make sure you put question in all caps before your question, so it's visible, so we don't miss it. Um, and I know we already have a couple other questions, but is there anything else that you wanted to cover before we actually get started, Aaron?
Not really.
So if you, um, for those who are just now strolling in, before we get started, I'll just say it one more time. To enter to win a free ticket for the conference, all you have to do is go over to our Patreon. That link is below in the description, and you just sign up for the Patreon. It's $5 to sign up, and you're automatically entered to win a free ticket. And we're going to announce the ticket next Thursday on our podcast. So, and if you're already a Patreon member, you're automatically entered to win. So good for you. And what else? Oh yeah, so an incentive to sign up for the Patreon. We are beginning to dive down the rabbit hole for the Tartaria webinar, which I'm extremely excited about. I've already been doing some research, and like it's just one of the most mind-blowing topics, and I already can tell it might have to be a two-parter. We'll see. Um,
Yeah. Another
but uh,
two-parter.
but I know a lot of people just by the comments and the feedback are really excited about that one, and so am I. And
Yeah. Me too.
my favorite part about doing the webinars is, we get to learn a lot as well along the way. Um, so it's a lot of fun and we appreciate all your support. So anyway, that being said, let's jump into the first question. Oh man, I don't know.
Well, they
Question.
just Do you
The
want to say it?
answer is I don't know. Will they disclose what is really going on underground where the big trucks are going? Do you want to
Who's
tackle that one,
they?
Aaron?
And um,
Well, they would be they in quotes.
yeah, not
So,
the government. No, like not anytime
well, here's the
soon.
thing. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the military convoys
Military.
that drive underground and they just disappear into the night. Nobody sees them come back. Like they're obviously going, like especially in Sedona area and stuff like that. We covered this on the dumb webinar. Um,
Hmm.
the convoys of trucks will just drive up to like the Enchantment Resort, for example, and they'll disappear. They'll never come back. There'll be 25, 30 trucks, sometimes even more, even less. And what they're doing is going underground, and there's bases everywhere. You can just imagine the Southwest, probably the planet, like looking like an ant hill underground, like an ant colony. I mean, just tunnels and civilizations and cities and caverns everywhere. So as far as that being disclosed, I mean, I think we're disclosing it here. I don't think we're going to get that official like announcement on the media.
Until till the new Earth comes, really, we're not going to get a whole lot of disclosure, in my opinion, because before that, we still have these powers that are on their way out in control still. So they're not gonna disclose anything that unless it benefits them in some way or goes along with one of their agendas
Exactly.
until they're gone. And that's just the way it is because they're still there. Um,
Question
they're on their way
request.
out. So
Yes. Question slash request. Guest request. Darius J. Wright. I guess they want us to
yeah,
interview him.
I told you about him
Yeah,
actually.
he's actually on the list of people to reach out to, which we have a very long list. So
He's amazing, and I've already wanted to get him on the show. So yeah, we're gonna definitely try to get Darius on the show at some point for sure.
question.
But
Did you
we have
see
a
any
long
UF?
list, like Tyler said. So
Yeah, we
yeah.
do actually, very long. And there's a lot of people that want to come back and there's always people reaching out. So we do our best and it'll all happen in due time. Every interview, every
Mhm.
guest is all divinely timed. So did you see any UFOs down in Springfield? I personally didn't see one, but somebody filmed one and I actually posted it on my Facebook. It was pretty awesome. There's always the first there was three arguments online: SpaceX, Starlink, airplane headlights, and
Yeah,
the people that
airplane
saw it,
headlights doesn't
yeah,
make any
somebody
sense.
somebody was like, clearly that's airplane headlights in the fog, but the thing like split in two and like shot off.
I've never seen airplane headlights do that. I don't know. Yeah, I saw
Well,
that comment. I was like,
that to me that
that does
shows the
not make any
level,
sense.
like that shows the level of consciousness I think that some people are still at. Like your brain literally can't see anything else for some reason.
Like
So
that's the
it
closest thing.
has to
So they're
be,
that they
yeah,
can think of. They're like, oh, it must be that. It's that must be it. Done. End of story. It's like,
yeah.
no, no, that does not explain it. Sorry. But yeah,
Question.
exactly. Like some people.
Would going by yourself be boring or uncomfortable? If you're talking about the conference, no. Actually, it might be the best time of your life. It might be the best decision you ever made. I've gone to events by myself, and a number of people have, and you meet your soul family there. Like once you're there, you're gonna first of all, you're gonna meet your friends that you've never got to meet that you only know on from online. So that's amazing. And second of all, you're gonna meet new people that you're never expecting. You're gonna have soul memories of some of these people, and it's amazing the connections that are made, and it actually can be quite life changing. So you won't be uncomfortable. You're everyone's family. You'll be welcomed with arms wide open. So.
What Tyler said. Absolutely.
Okay. And if you're just now signing up, I will say it once, or if you're just joining us, I'm sorry, I will say it once again. In order to win a free ticket, if you want to win a free ticket and come to our conference next May 13th through the 16th, all you have to do is click the link below for our Patreon and sign up and become a member for only $5. You're automatically entered to win. And we are going to announce the winner next week. So, and if you're already a member, good luck. I mean, you're in luck. You're already signed up to win. So what's the next question? I saw Tyler's video about the dark side of the city museum. Does the last hotel make use of the garage under the sliced pint? Anything suspicious in there? Oh man, that's somebody who knows the area. So the
Yeah,
well, maybe not because well, they have to know the area. Yeah.
St.
So
Louis person for sure. Yeah.
the sliced pint is a pizza joint across the street. If you watch the video, across the street from the City Museum, that actually has a reptilian on the sign eating pizza with people. And it's interesting that it's called the sliced pint because a pint-sized people, is the children, the City Museum, and I make all the connections in the video. No, so the last hotel itself does not. That garage actually belongs to the building next door. So I don't believe the last hotel actually has access to the garage that goes under the last sliced pint. So I can't answer that question. But if there's, as far as anything suspicious, you just pick a building downtown St. Louis. I mean, all of them lead to the tunnel network. I mean, most of them do. The ones that I've worked on, and it's pretty. I mean, there's a lot of suspicious activity under every city. Aaron,
Yeah.
you want to read
That's
this?
every city. Yeah.
You want to read the next question, Aaron?
Sure. What are some of the topics you guys know of so far that are going to be discussed at the Rebels of Disclosure conference? Um, a
Well,
lot.
that just depends on the guest.
It's
I
right.
mean, you just look at the guest, and if you understand, what they talk about, that's going to be the topic. I'm sure they'll discuss. So,
Right, right. I mean, it depends on the guest, like Tyler said.
or the
So if
speaker.
you look into each guest and see what their kind of specialty areas are, that's what they will most likely talk about. But then you have the people like Brad Olson, for example, who talks about pretty much everything. So you never know. I mean, he lately he talks a lot about Antarctica and ancient civilizations and stuff like that. But he knows a lot more than just that, and UFOs and stuff. He knows a lot more than just that. So we're gonna
Well, I've already
um,
actually asked Brad to kind of
right,
cover something specific. So, he's going to put together a slideshow just uniquely for this conference. So we might be getting something new from him, which is exciting.
right. So if you've seen Brad before, don't just assume he's going to be talking about the same thing, because he's probably not going to be talking about anything you've seen him talk about, probably most likely. So,
All
and
right.
because we know Brad speaks at he speaks at a lot of conferences. So if you've been to a conference in the UFO community, you've probably
You've
seen
probably
him
seen him, yeah.
speak.
Um, but he's good company, and part of the
He's
reason we like
amazing.
having him around is not primarily, well, everyone we chose to be a speaker, it's not primarily based on their information. That is a big part of it, but it's their personality and who they are as people. And like
Mhm.
it's like they're our friends, people that we want to hang out with for 4 days at Pierre Marquette, and hang out around the bonfire and skywatch with. And Brad, he's just an awesome person to hang out with, and so is everyone
Mhm.
else that's going to be there. So,
Yep.
that's actually, to me personally, that's the more exciting part of the whole conference, is just hanging out and get to know everybody. So,
Right. Like we pick people based off of how much we like them and like hanging out with them just as much, if not more so, than their information for the conference. That's a huge because like Tyler said, it's like a big family gathering. Basically, it's like a big hangout. So um
oh man,
yeah,
this next question's loaded. Tell us more about the war and your ideas about what is really going on. Well, if you watch us
that's
every week, I
that's a big
mean,
question.
so
How much time we got here?
right. If you watch us every week, you might have an idea of what our answer is going to be, but the war is ultimately spiritual. It comes down to that. And it comes down to the individual, actually. It is a collective spiritual war, right? But if anyone who's on the awakening journey and they're rising above and they're raising their frequency and they're breaking programming, those are the ones who become targeted, because you're now becoming a threat. You're breaking the matrix, right? You're exiting the matrix. So
Mm-hmm.
at that point, it comes down to the inner work, all the cliche stuff that we talk about, but it really matters because you are going to be a target. You're going to be put on the radar, and whenever you begin to break programming, and like myself and others who experience these attacks at night while they're sleeping, and these like sleep paralysis and whatever other type of psychic attacks, psionic attacks, whatever you want to call them. There's ways to combat that. There's ways to deal with it, but I think ultimately what happens is that's what the spiritual war looks like, and you're gonna maybe not everyone's gonna experience that, but I feel like if we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty of it, it has nothing to do with what's on the surface level, what we're seeing on the surface. It has everything to do with the unseen, behind the scenes, the invisible enemies, the spiritual war, the stuff that's happening in space, the ET wars that we get caught in the middle of. There's moves and counter moves all day long. And it's really not as black and white as the media makes it seem. And Aaron, I'll let you add to that.
Yeah. I second everything Tyler just said. But ultimately it is a spiritual war, but ultimately beyond, so there's multiple layers to this. Because reality is multidimensional. So there's always going to be multiple layers to everything. So on one level of reality, it looks like a war. And it is a war on one level, right? Where you have seemingly these negative ETs and these negative entities, blah, 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 behind this like structure on the planet that are manipulating things. And that goes out into space, as we know, like we hear about the Draco and all this stuff. And that's true on one level. But the thing is, the negative entities, by the nature of being a negatively oriented, or in the law of one terms, a service to self entity, you can only go up to, I think it's like fifth density, if that's even true, like only a certain level, basically. And above that, because once you get so high, basically, I think I said this on a previous show, like, to put it simply, oneness is the ultimate truth of everything. That's what the law of one is based on, that there's only one of us here, that we're all the same energy that you could call God or source or the universe or whatever term you want to label that, experiencing itself in an illusion of separation, but ultimately we're all connected. We're all one. We're all a part of the same stuff.
Right.
So the negative beings, once you get so high, basically that dissolves, because it becomes so apparent. You become so apparently connected to everything that you just, negativity just dissolves, because why would I attack myself? Why would I, and then you become more and more connected to source. I mean, we're already connected to source, but it becomes
Right.
more, you experience that connection more, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Well,
So the negative, so basically, yeah, it is a war on these lower levels, but to say there's a war of God against God, that doesn't make any sense, right?
right.
Or like light, if all there is God, it's source, energy, consciousness, infinite consciousness. Well, then what is darkness? Well, darkness is, you could say, is the absence of light, but if there is no such thing as the absence of God, if everything is God, it's really just the lower levels that have forgotten that they are God, that have become lost, basically. So the dark, the negative, it's really more about everything that happens, in my opinion, is ultimately for the ultimate good of everything, and for the evolution of everything, and for the awakening of everything. Because think about it, without and I think that's why you could say, well, why does God, source, whatever, the light, whatever, allow all this horrible stuff to exist? Why does it allow the negativity to exist? Well, it allows it to exist because it helps the evolution and the expansion of everything, of all beings, of all
You can't go on
consciousness.
the hero's journey without the
You
antagonist.
can't, right? What meaning would goodness have without something that is contrasting that seemingly badness,
Right.
right? It would have no
Well,
meaning. You have to have some kind of duality to have the meaning of the other, right? So to experience things, you have to have duality. So yes, there's a war, yes, blah blah blah, but when you eventually realize that we are a lot more than this body. We're a lot more than just what you're seeing with your five senses, what you're experiencing with your five senses. This is like the lowest level of what you could call reality of manifestation. But we are multidimensional beings. We're so much greater than this. Like we are connected to God itself, to source itself. So we have the powers. We just have to tap into that stuff. So
Right.
the more you awaken and the more you raise your consciousness and expand, the more you can tap into your more of your true self, right? But you already are that. It's not like you're gaining something. You're just coming into more of what you already are. You're experiencing more of what you already are. So the more of us that raise our consciousness, the more of us that wake up on, and that's a layered thing as well. As we know, awakening is a multi-layered thing, and it's not just a one and done thing. It's a continual process. So there's a certain threshold on this planet that enough humans get to a certain level, it's game over, because we're the ones that have been manipulated into creating the reality that the controllers want. That's been the whole game, the whole time.
Well, it's all been exactly. I'm gonna add to that and address a couple comments that came through.
Yeah, go
It,
for
it
it.
actually it all is mind control and manipulation, 100%, and that's why the attacks happen. Because if
Right.
it's all literally it is ultimately mind control. Because if you can think something is happening to you, even though it might be, but if you start playing the victim to that and you start
Mhm.
reacting to that situation, they have control of your mind now. You're not focused on yourself anymore.
Right.
And it's not to say that like there isn't bad things happening and negative stuff doesn't happen, because it does, and that's actually intentional. So we can
Mhm.
learn and so we can grow. So
Right.
some of the attacks, like the stuff that I've gone through, I'm very conscious not to play victim to any of it. I'm always looking at it as a lesson. How can I learn from it? And
Right.
ultimately, I think of it as training
Right.
too, because now like to become a true light warrior or a true master or anything, like you know, you have to experience the darkness. You can't go out there and give advice on something or teach other people or even, you know, have a voice on or an opinion on a matter that you've never experienced. So
So
ultimately you can, it's like you're gaining wisdom.
right.
And
It's not about eradicating the darkness or
right,
getting rid of it. It's about changing your relationship with it,
right,
changing how you react to it,
right.
and
Well,
letting it, using it as a, like, changing your perspective of it, like you said, using it as realizing it's allowing me the opportunity to gain wisdom and to level
yeah.
up.
And
Right.
to somebody said, I want to address a comment also. They said they can use people around you to attack you or get to you. And that's true,
Mm-hmm.
because I actually just had a session in Colorado where I had something removed, and it was explained to me that this specific entity wasn't actually doing anything to me in particular. It was working through other people and like sending people into my life or however it would look, just to throw me off my path, distract me.
Mm-hmm.
So you always be, you know, always be cautious, always, you know, set healthy boundaries. And when new people come into your life, just make sure you vet them and make sure it's very clear. The intentions are clear on, you know, what role that person is playing in your life. So, man, there's so much we can go on and on with that topic,
Right.
but we should probably move on to the
The
next
big
question.
topic. Yeah.
Um, Question: do you believe that we will ascend into 5D New Earth within our lifetime? A lot of QHHT sessions have been coming back with 2025 as being significant. Well, Aaron kind of just explained it. I don't think it's like the ascension just going to be like somebody flips a switch and all of a sudden, boom. Like I think it's gradually happening, and it's all specific to the individual and their path and their journey. And obviously, there is a collective ascension, and the planet is ascending, but it's gradual. And it's just going to be like everything else in our reality, kind of like a Mandela effect, how all of a sudden one day something's just different and nobody knows how it happened. Like I think
Mhm.
that's what it's going to be like. Like
Yeah.
next thing you know, like something's going to be different. We're just going to be existing in that reality because the frequency had shifted, but it's almost like trying to watch a flower grow. Like you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it unless you're filming it and, you know, speeding up the film. So I think it's kind of like that. It's happening. It's happening. And
Hmm.
if you're not paying attention, the next thing you know, the flower is going to be blossomed and, you know, we have ascended. So I kind of think that's what it's
Yeah.
going to look like.
Yeah, exactly. And we're the ones um creating that moment by moment. Um so there's no such thing as a set in stone future, or like this is definitely going to happen this way in the future. Well, that doesn't exist, because that mean you could, like, if you understand the nature of time, which is an illusion, all that exists is the now moment, and the future is just a bunch of now moments. uh it's always now, right? It's never
Right.
tomorrow, it's never yesterday, it's always now.
Right.
So the past is just memories of now moments, the future is now moments that keep, different versions of now moments. And but we're the ones creating it, we're the ones that are going to create our own future. So that's what, comes down to enough of us taking our power back, waking up, creating the reality consciously that we want to create, rather than unconsciously what someone else wants to create, that they're manipulating us into creating, which is what's been happening for a long time.
Right. Yeah.
But the cool thing is that, going back to like kind of the war thing, like the more they push, which they're doing really heavily right now, the more they throw at us because they're desperate, which they are, the more of us that wake up,
Right.
the more
They shoot
we see
themselves in the
through the
foot.
game.
Every attack, quote attack, it's like them shooting themselves in the foot, because at this
Mhm.
point it's like knocking over bowling pins. It's just waking that many people up,
Yeah,
you know.
it
So
just speeds up the awakening,
right.
and we get that much closer, faster uh to whatever the tipping point is, however that looks.
And I
Yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
And going back to the question before, like the oneness thing, something I was going to add, I just remembered. It's something Joe Rogan said a long time ago, but it's still valid today. Back when I used to listen to his podcast, which actually played a role in my awakening back in like 2010. But he said, treat everyone as if it's you walking around in another body. And that's it.
Mhm.
Like if you really can maintain that thought process every day and just stop and think of that before you react to someone else, your reality will shift. I mean, you'll start seeing, people will start showing up in a different light. If you think that person's negative and evil, they're always going to show up as negative and evil in your life. If you think of them as
Mhm.
you struggling through a hard time and you hold space for them to heal and grow, then you're going to watch that person transform, and they don't always have to be the enemy. So,
The universe
hey,
always mirrors back to you what you hold inside.
right,
So how whatever you're holding inside of you, and whatever emotions, whatever beliefs, core beliefs that you're holding on to, the universe is going to constantly mirror that back to you, because that's how
right.
it works. That's the nature of this. Everything is consciousness. So everything you're holding with that within, as above so below, right? Well, that's also as within so without. So it's always going to be mirrored back to you on the outside, because
So
that's what you're holding on the inside.
I do want to address something too that, on this ascension question. So I'm sure a lot of people have seen the TikTok videos that are going viral right now, where the people are just blipping out of reality, just disappearing out of reality, and they're
Mm-hmm.
being caught on security footage. I mean, it's happening all over the world, right? Is it real? Are the videos real or are they fake? And who knows? At this point, everything can be faked, and it's always possible that it's fake. So, that being said, if it is real, well, that being said, the theory behind it is one of the theories behind it is the ascension. Like certain people are being like saved from like ET groups. They're being like just picked out of this reality, and they're being brought to a ship. Like I've seen them. I've seen the, people claiming it's happening. It's happening. Certain people are being saved. I do think it's very interesting that that's happening, and I don't know why that's happening, but it's just a fun thing to talk about. It's not fun if these people really are disappearing, but um, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
It's
yeah, I don't
very,
know. That's interesting.
yeah. Um,
Whatever's going on there.
So, next question. What's the best, most interesting news or one of your shows you want to talk about or promote just now? Uh, well, the last episode we did was pretty profound. It was amazing. Kristen Bredemus. I thought, I mean, it got incredible
Yeah.
feedback, and it was honestly one of the most
Yeah.
high vibe interviews we've done in a long time. And if you go read the comments, like everyone walked away just feeling good from that interview. On top of all the incredible information and all the incredible guests we've had and the stuff we cover, when somebody can walk away from an interview feeling that way, I think that's the most important thing. So,
Yeah,
If we're going
Kristen's
to promote
amazing.
any episode, that's the one I would like to promote, the most recent one.
Yes, Kristen is amazing. Yeah, so I moved to the Boston area earlier in the year to be with my love, and she was already friends with Kristen and like would go to have sessions with her all the time, and then and then I started having some sessions with her, and that's how I met Kristen, and found out she was super amazing and has had all these amazing experiences and is like super psychic and all the rest of it, and
Oh,
but that
hey,
no one knows who she is. So I'm like, oh man, we need to get
right.
her on the show. Like I need to help her out here.
I have to address
All
something. So
that.
I don't know if you saw it, Aaron, but we just had an ad pop up. So
We
YouTube
did.
changed YouTube changed the rules, guys, and they have mandatory mid-roll ads. So we cannot stop the mid-roll, mid-episode ads anymore, even on the live streams. So it's not us anymore. Like we have no control over that option anymore. So every YouTube video from here on out,
So it's
and they,
not
yeah,
us doing it. Just know that it's YouTube. It's not us.
yeah, I noticed it when I was watching our documentary, and I was like, what are these ads? Like, it's not even monetized. Like, we're not even monetizing the documentary. So
So
we're
whether
like,
you monetize or not, they're putting
whether you're
ads.
monetizing or not, yeah.
Great.
So
Wonderful.
YouTube is just, I mean, and it's ridiculous.
YouTube
And
just keeps
yeah,
getting worse.
actually, the rule is they'll decide whether they'll put in the mid roll or not, like the ad or not. So
Oh, so they might and they might
some
not.
videos might not have it, but anyway, it's ridiculous. Also, this reminds me of something else. So this happens every year when conference tickets go on sale. The scammers go under the social media post and they're going to be like, "Hey, I have 4 tickets for sale. I'm selling 2 tickets. What? Do
Mhm.
not buy tickets
You
from those people because that's a
don't.
scam."
It's a scam. Don't do
Yeah,
it.
they're just trying to get you you'll be buying fake tickets if you do that. So do not buy tickets from anyone on social media in the comment section saying that, hey, I have 2 tickets for sale unless you know the person. Do not take candy from the stranger in the van unless
Right.
you know him.
Right.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
basically what it is.
exactly. If you get a suspicious vibe from, this goes for anything on social media. If you get a suspicious vibe, most likely it's a scammer or it's something bad.
Right. So I have here's the next question. I have a question. I have a session with Margie K this Saturday. What's a good question I should ask her or from you guys? Well, if it's a session, it's obviously personal to you. She does amazing work as far as like you can call it X-ray vision. She's able to scan your body and tell you like any ailments you have, any like even extraterrestrial implants. And I've watched her perform magic on people and diagnose people, and it's all she's not medical. Whatever disclaimer she has to say, she's not a medical professional, but this isn't medical advice, but this is what she sees.
Yeah, she's better than medical
Right.
professionals,
So,
in my opinion.
um, she actually helped me just recently at the conference. So if you have any physical ailments, I mean, she can definitely scan you and help you with that, and help guide you to whatever supplements or whatever you might need, among many other things. It's a personal session. I would just suggest tapping in, sitting in meditation and seeing what comes up for you.
Hmm.
Okay, what's
Definitely.
next? Are you getting any intel on what to expect for the next 3 or 4 months? Uh, I read stuff all the time and I hear stuff and I don't give it any energy, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I learned in the early days of my awakening. I was all about the intel and what's happening right now and what's coming next and what is this person saying? What is this person saying? Why did that building blow up? Who's behind it? What ET group is that? And then I was like, why do I need to know any of this stuff? It's all a
Right.
distraction from what I'm even here to do.
Giving all right, because you're putting
Yeah,
all your energy into trying to figure out what's going to happen or what could happen in the future.
exactly. Yeah,
And then you're
it's
never living in the now.
and honestly, if you feed into any of the narratives or anything on what to expect in the next 3 to 4 months, you're actually manifesting that reality or you're helping to
Right.
co-create it. And a lot of the information is misinformation or disinfo.
Hmm.
intentionally put out. There are plants in the community, there are plants in every community all over the planet that are intentionally putting out bad information and false warnings and false dates to get people to co-create that reality
Because they
for the
want,
dark.
right,
Yeah.
they want us to create that reality. They're and I'm sorry, but a lot of great meaning, well-meaning people, I think, are being used, are being played by whoever. And probably you follow that trail, it probably leads back to the cabal, I'm sure, to put out information that they are 100% convinced is real, or is a real possibility. And it maybe is a real possibility, but a possibility doesn't mean it's going to happen, for one. But they're trying to get us to manifest that timeline and that reality. So if they're like, okay, if we can get all these people in the alternative community, feeding fear and feeding worry and feeding all this energy into this information, we have a really good chance of that manifesting. That's, you gotta understand the game here. If you don't understand the game, you're never going to understand this stuff, because the real
Right.
game is like, they have to get us to create what they want to create.
and
They have
and
to
the
they have
hard
to trick us into it.
and the exactly and the hard part is, and I understand this and I can feel where people are coming from. If good-hearted, true empathic people would never think that another human is capable of doing something so evil,
Mm-hmm.
and that when you try to tell them, the game, right, what the government is actually doing, how people are being manipulated and mind controlled, and Operation Mockingbird, and all that stuff, it kind of goes in one ear out the other, because people just don't believe it's possible that they're really that nefarious.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing you have to come to realize is they are. And once you can finally, and I don't think people realize that stuff until they start to experience something that affects them personally in their lives, and then they realize, like, then they'll go down the rabbit hole. Until you understand that, like, there is no length that they won't go to try and manipulate and suppress or do whatever it is they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Until you can understand that, then it's not going to make sense to you, and you're
Right.
not going to think there's anything wrong with it, because your favorite celebrity and everyone else is telling you that everything is okay, and it's not. um
Right.
so, question, is Tyler single? That's classified.
It's
um
classified.
yeah, it's classified. uh I stole that from Seinfeld. Kramer was talking about being in the military, and he told Jerry, he's like, you wouldn't last a day in the army. He's like, how long did you last? He's like, that's classified. um what are your opinions on the book of Revelation? That's you, Aaron.
uh well, so the book of Revelation, obviously, if you're a Christian, you think that's the the end times that are in the Bible. You're like, oh, that's what's going to happen in the Bible. But it's a very if you read the book of Revelation, it's 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 not like a straightforward book. It's like very um esoteric and metaphorical and crazy, to be honest. It's pretty intense. And supposedly it was who was it, John, that got like banished to the island of, what was it, Patmos or something, that he had all these visions there. He had all these like downloads and visions and stuff, and then that's what he wrote down supposedly as the book of Revelations. And of what he's like, oh, this is what I saw, is what's gonna be come the end times, of what's coming. And there's a lot of debate of like whether it's literal, whether it's purely metaphorical, whether it's bullshit completely, whether it's this or that or this or that. And I honestly, to be perfectly honest, I haven't looked into it super, super deeply. Um, and my gut tells me there's definitely something to it. Like, there's definitely, I think that I think he did get a lot of those visions. I think it's metaphorical though at the same time. I think a lot of that represents different things, like,
One thing,
the
one thing
whatever
I'll
headed dragon and the this and the that, it all represents things that I think we're in right now, because we are in what you could call the end times. we're in the end times. It's not the end of the world. It's the end of the old world. It's the end of the old age that we've been in for a long time. And now we're moving into a new age, which is where the term new age comes from. And that's all other thing. So we've been in the age of Pisces for 2,000 years, and we're now moving into the age of Aquarius.
Well,
And the age of Pisces, and then even a long time before that was the Cabal, the Dark had this kind of stronghold over the planet, right? Where they were just kind of running the show, smooth sailing, blah blah blah. And now the planet is waking up. Gaia herself is waking up and chose to ascend, and now humanity is also waking up because of the energies and because of a lot of things right now. And because of that, there's all this chaos, and the dark forces are trying to hang on, and they're lashing out, and blah blah blah. So yeah, the Book of Revelations, there's all kinds of, depending on who you are, you would say it means different things. And supposedly it talks about 1,000 years of peace or 1,000-year reign of Christ or whatever. And there's all different interpretations of that. What I interpret it as is just the end times that we're going through now, the chaotic times that we're going through now, of the dark trying to battle, to hold on. And but ultimately it's going to lead to the times of peace, is the new age that we're moving into, where there's no longer this dark stronghold system, whatever you want to call that, these dark entities that are at the top of this hierarchical system that's been on the planet for thousands of years. That's crumbling, that's going away, because the planet is ascending. The planet Gaia is a conscious being and made the decision to ascend. And if you're going to stay on the planet, you have to move up. You have to be frequency specific to what the planet's at. So you're either going to go with the planet, or you're going to have to go somewhere else, to put it simply. And because of that, it doesn't mean all, like, basically things are going to get a lot better. Things are going to get a lot more harmonious and a lot more transparent. So like we're moving into a space where humanity is going to be consciously creating the reality for itself for the first time in a long time,
if not ever.
Put it simply, if ever.
Yeah,
and that's debatable,
So I want to add to that, Aaron, if you don't mind.
So yeah, that's what I think about the Book of Revelation.
I do think, well, Foils, I mean, everybody said Foils in the comments. She said she thinks the Revelations is on point. But one thing I will say is about this is we actually shared a video on Instagram about this, and I happen to agree with it. The guy was explaining how Revelations is going to be faked, and they're going to do it over in I can't even say the name right now because I don't want to get taken down.
Yeah.
But apparently, and I don't disagree with them, that they will try and fake Revelations before something like that actually happens. And it's going to be like a false version of that. And I would say to look out for that. And don't just give your power away to the very first thing you see that aligns with, what you read. So, because
they're trying
to the devil. Well, I just want to say this: the devil never shows up as a devil. He always shows up in disguise, So
right. That goes back with the manipulation. They're trying to there's multiple things going on here, but they're using the Book of Revelation as a playbook, so to speak, because a lot of people in the Cabal have this belief system of that they need the prophecies to happen for them to stay in power, basically, and they've been trying to trigger the end times for a long time, basically, which is why one of the reasons why they've been trying to start World War III for a long time and all this other stuff, because they want the end times in that way, the destructive like end times to happen, so they can their new world order, that this is their whole cult belief system. They're like, okay, that's going to happen, and then that's when we fully take over the new world order, and then we reign for evermore, blah blah blah. It's not going to happen. That's you got to understand, a lot of these people are psychopaths,
but they're going to try,
brainwashed.
I'm not saying that they're not going to try, though.
They're trying. No, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
they're
we're gonna
trying.
see some physical, tangible stuff,
There's
and
going to
that's
be real stuff. Yeah, there's going to be real stuff, but it's the cabal trying to intentionally follow. They're like reading the book of Revelation, reading certain things, and they're like, okay, we need to do that, we need to do that, we need to do that. It's not like it's happening naturally. It's happening because they're trying to bring on the end times that they think is going to be when they can swoop in and form the new, order out of chaos, the new world order, blah blah
right,
blah. It's not going to work because we're not on that timeline, but
right.
we're going to see a lot of crazy stuff happen because this is why, in my opinion, the whole Israel Palestine, Israel Hamas thing is going on right now. They're trying to do this kind of stuff with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I want to move on to the next question because I've been waiting to get to this one. Question.
Yeah.
Who else is eating Halloween candy right now?
Not me.
Not me, but
I've only had a tiny bit.
I did just eat a pumpkin pie cupcake that my cousin made me for my birthday. So I did have that.
Nice.
It
That
was
sounds amazing.
delicious. So, have either of you been on a galactic ship and met your hybrid children? Not to my recollection. I've had I had a man, it's a whole story, but I've had people tell me that they've seen me on a ship with hybrid children before, but I don't remember it, so I can't speak on that as if it actually happened. Um, I do know that I'm pretty sure this is actually one of the topics that came up at XCon. Sev Tak was talking about the hybrid children and stuff, and her story is incredible. How she was introduced to that program, she didn't know anything about it, but um, I have in the past. I think for one, I think maybe lots of people, if not everyone, has hybrid children. I don't know. I'm not going to speak on behalf of everyone. I don't know how massive this experiment is, but um, I have meditated in the past and set the intention to communicate with apparently these hybrid children that I apparently have. And I was able to see children and hear voices, but I don't know if they were mine. And I kind of feel like I sound ridiculous talking about that. So um, I actually don't know. But no, if I have been, I don't remember.
If I have, I don't remember either, not consciously at least.
Um,
I've had some dreams that I've been on ships and stuff, and maybe I was astrally or in some other form, or maybe I have been and I've been wiped, and I just don't have the memory, but I don't know.
What are your opinions on a major event set to happen in 2026, 2027? Bashar, Chris Bledsoe, and John Ramirez, as well as psychics, have talked about it. Well, here's my opinion. So in 2018, 2017, every trusted
Yeah,
QHHT psychic, everyone was predicting the solar flash to happen around 2018, around that era. And like a lot of credible people had good information, and we had no reason to not to believe that it wasn't going to happen, and until it didn't happen. And that was all I needed to see to understand that we just can't trust any of this stuff anymore because I don't know. I think it goes along with what we were just talking about. It
yeah,
like it sets this goal line and it kind of you're like waiting for that to happen while you're forgetting to be present and focusing on
right.
what actually matters.
This is why this is this is one of many reasons why the ETs or other beings don't tell us what is going to happen in the future because it's not a good idea. Um, yeah, I in the whole solar flash, anything like here's the thing, because we know about like Project Looking Glass and these different like technologies that supposedly see into the future, right? Well, they're only seeing a potential timeline based on the trajectory that we're at that moment in time. It's a trajectory, meaning like if nothing majorly changes or humanity doesn't really do anything too different, this is where they're headed. But that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. That's just a trajectory. And and even in that, there's only probably certain things that would be definitely most likely going to happen, and then the rest is just up to whatever happens. But yeah, so maybe that's a likely based on the trajectory of this now moment currently where we're at, maybe it's very likely that in 20, I think, yeah, I heard Bashar say like it's very likely that between 2026 and 2028 is when we'll have first contact, like the first ever contacts in a big way. You know, obviously people have contact individually and stuff, but in a more public way, whatever. But and maybe that's a timeline that's very likely, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen, because everything's, again, it always comes back to us. We're the ones creating moment by moment this reality. We're the ones creating it. So if it
I
gets to
wouldn't
2026, 2027, 2028 and we're still not ready, it's not going to happen. if we're still, you know, it's only going to happen when we are actually ready and it's actually for our
right.
highest good to happen.
And I don't put it past like that being bad information either. Like
Right.
to intentionally throw you off.
It doesn't mean it's completely right. It
Right.
doesn't mean there's like deception intentionally or unintentionally even there.
Well,
It just means that's
here.
not how this works.
Let me tell a story, and this is something from this past conference. I think Forrest Crawford, I think that's his name. He spoke and told this incredible story of this guy in the military who had um, who was communicating and dealing with one of the ETs from a UFO wreck, and he actually got pulled off of the project because they were trying to torture this ET, and this guy like was connecting with this ET, which looked exactly human, by the way, and he had enough, like he couldn't see him be tortured anymore, so he actually pulled his gun on the guys doing torturing, and he got shipped off the project, and they there's a whole long story. Either way, he stayed in contact with this group after that for years, for like 7 years or longer. And he adamantly refused to speak publicly about his contact and the incredible information. He would only like allow one or two people who he trusted to come to his house, and he would share information with them or whatever. And he claimed that he was going on the ship and coming back, and it's like one of the most profound stories, and very believable too. Like once you hear it all in order. Anyway, he was adamant that he would never go public. He just wasn't comfortable after, because he was actually put through torture after he turned his back on the military and the program. So he was just downright refused. Well, all of a sudden, he fell off a ladder at work. He hurt himself at work, fell off a ladder, and the ambulance came and they took him to a hospital. But witnesses said it wasn't EMTs in the ambulance, it was actually men in suits. They took him to this hospital, and his wife couldn't even go see him. And they kept him for a month in this hospital, and they weren't answering calls. Anyone went to the hospital, they were not allowed to see him. It was this whole conspiracy. People were flipping out. They said, "Don't worry, ma'am, we're gonna get your husband back to you, but you can't see him." Whatever. Long story short, he comes back from the hospital, and he calls the guy who he's been communicating with and telling his story to for the past 7 years. He's like, "Hey, I'm ready to talk now. I'm ready to talk. I'll go speak at your meeting." And it was a MUFON meeting. He's like, "No shit, what happened?" He's like, "Yeah, they told me it's okay. They told me it's time." He goes to the meeting, and everyone in the meeting had known about this guy from, through word of mouth. So they kind of heard his story, but it was all indirect. He goes to the meeting, and everything that came out of his mouth was the opposite of everything that he's been telling this guy for the past 7 years. Like it was a completely different story, and he was painting these ETs to be negative, and it was like all this misinformation. And
Really?
whatever happened to him in the hospital, they got to him, and he later
like programmed him or
they
something.
later found out that they were actually doing shock treatments on him and other stuff. Like they were literally like MK Ultra, like changing his mind about the situation. Whatever happened, he has never been the same person ever since he came back from the hospital, and his whole story has changed. And but there's evidence, there's tangible evidence for this case. It's not just like some hearsay, "Oh, that person's compromised." Like they have like reports and documents and everything, and witnesses and investigators. Like this is an actual case. So it
Yeah, I'm not
happens.
surprised.
It happens, and that means that that's not the only person it can happen to. So
Mm.
Bashar, any of your favorite people, anyone can, if they're in contact with extraterrestrials, there's no reason that some group can't come in and they can't become compromised. And what comes out of their mouth the next day might be bad information.
Right.
And
Well, here's
that's part of this war.
right. And a lot of times I think it happens in a way much less dramatic than that, where there's a lot of there's trickster entities, there's negative entities that
Yeah.
pose like to pose as Archangel Michael or whatever, or whatever benevolent race, there's a lot of deception going on. So I think channeling is real. I 100% know channeling is real, but I do think there's a lot because of the nature of channeling. I think the dark forces have taken advantage of that because they know they can easily trick a ton of people into thinking they're channeling something good, and they're not. They're channeling something not good or something very deceptive,
Right.
and they're getting a lot of, who knows whatever they want you to believe is what they're channeling. And then that being said, even if that's not the case, channeling, I don't think it's 100% really ever, because you always have the human filter that it has to come through,
That lens. Yeah.
and that's always going to color it to some degree, even if it's 90% or 95% or 98% pure good information. You're always going to have some small percentage at least of
Right.
distortion of just coming through that person from their belief systems or their own filters or whatever. So never just take any one channeler like, oh, they said this, so that's the truth ultimately, and that's definitely it. It's like
Right.
that's a very dangerous thing to do with anything and anyone, right? You obviously take what resonates, leave the rest, all that. Like if
Right.
you feel into it, you can usually feel what feels pure and good and what doesn't. But that's why I like to look at a lot. I like to look at a lot of different channelers that I already have like vetted. I already think are pretty much on point, and they're doing it right, and they're in contact with something good. And then I see what all of them are saying, and then I can see the like what lines up between them, and I'm like, okay, they're all saying the same thing here and here and here, and that's what I like to do with that. But yeah, with contact with ET contactees, it's the same thing.
Right.
You
It
think you're in
just
contact with some benevolent race, it could be a not so good. It could be the deep state. It could be
right.
whatever. They implant screen memories. They can do all kinds of stuff. MK Ultra, like
It's very tricky, and there's no lengths they won't go to. And
there's no
don't
lengths they
think,
won't go
and
to.
they're smarter than we give them credit for, and they have thought this out, and it's there's strategy involved. It's not sloppy, and we have to understand that. So let's move on to the next question.
Right.
The first of all, for the guys that are just joining us, the ladies and gentlemen who are just joining us, if you want a chance to win a free ticket for our conference next year, next May 13th through the 16th, all you have to do is sign up to become a Patreon member. It's only $5 a month. You can click the link below and sign up. You're automatically entered to win. And if you're already a member, you're entered to win automatically as well. So that's it. It's only $5 to sign up, and we are going to announce the winner next Thursday on the show. So stay tuned for that. And our next webinar coming up on Patreon is the Tartaria webinar, and we're very excited about that. So I've already been diving down that rabbit hole, and just my mind's blown already. You think you know a lot about something until you actually sit down to look into it, and then it's pretty incredible sometimes. So anyway, if you want to win a free ticket, sign up to become a Patreon. It's only $5, and we will announce the winner next week. Next question. How do you guys feel about David Icke? Have you all interviewed him before?
We
No,
have
we have
not.
not.
I want to. We love David Icke. He's amazing.
There is, obviously there's controversy around every character in the community at this
Yeah,
point,
right.
but yeah, you can't deny the role he played in not everyone's, but a lot of people's awakening.
Mine,
Right. Same.
huge,
Yeah.
if not the biggest role in my awakening.
Um, and I know it's funny because it's funny the way the universe works. A lot of people I know now know him, so we have like
Mm.
kind of connections. And I've reached out and I've set the intention. And if it'll happen, if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. And I have no problem with interviewing him and asking him some questions. I think it would be great. So
Yeah. So if anyone listening has a good connection to David Icke, can put us in contact. That would be amazing.
right. And just to be clear, so at one point I watched this video somebody put out, and they were like saying, "Oh, David Icke is one of them. He's evil, blah blah." And they built this whole argument, and I watched it, and I was like, "Yeah, he's the bad guy." And
I
then
think I've watched
after,
the same one. If I
right,
think,
yeah. So
yeah,
and they made some good points, and it's things like, yeah, okay, I get it. But ultimately, after I've grown since then, and I reflect on that, um, I was really allowing myself to be emotionally triggered in that moment, and I really
Mhm.
didn't think it through and just kind of look at the bigger picture of everything. And now I've kind of changed my mind, and whether that's true or not, um, it doesn't change my mind overall about him, and I would interview him. So
Right. Well, and I think a lot of that comes from because obviously he doesn't like Trump, and he said a lot of, he basically thinks Trump is just another part of the deep state. And a lot of people didn't like that, got triggered, and they're like, "Oh, he's controlled opposition. He's that." I don't
right,
think that. I think, see, David Icke, to me, like, look at what he's saying in the more big picture way, and it's all on point. Everything he's saying is on point. When you outside of those little details of like who he thinks is what, um, he's on point with how reality works, with how the game works, with the control system, with who we really are. Because he's always saying like, you are not your body. You're not this 5 sense reality. They want to keep you trapped in the 5 sense reality, but you are all that is,
right,
and he really gets it right, and he really wakes a lot of people up to that. And that was when I listened to him in my awakening. He was saying all that stuff, and that's what was really hitting home with me at that time. I'm like, oh my gosh, that resonates
right,
so strong. Before I would even use that word, uh, that we are not just this body, and that we're, and that that's the whole game here. They want to keep you trapped in this little me so you can be manipulated and controlled and fed off of, right?
right. No, yeah.
So
I mean, he's
that's it.
opening.
That's
Yeah.
He's on point.
So yeah, we would potentially
So
interview
so
him.
like, how do you go wrong with that? If that's your main thing you're talking about, that's which, as far as I can tell, that's his main thing. That's it. Like, the other stuff is just, yeah, I don't agree with him on some of the other details of what his opinions are, but I don't agree with a lot of people
I
that
mean,
I
you're
still
not gonna.
generally follow and like on certain things.
There's not going to be any one individual that you 100% agree with on everything. It's just
Right.
not the way it works.
It's just That's just not how it works. It's
Um,
unrealistic.
so the next question, can you assist if you feel an almost or certain, wait, what is that? Can you assist if you feel an almost certain being followed by human or non-human beings? Um, uh, am I not understanding that?
I Can you assist if you feel an almost certain? I don't know what they're trying to say
I guess they're
exactly.
saying, I mean, can you assist if someone else, if you know someone else is being followed by human or non-human beings? I think there's a typo in that question, and it's actually a crucial typo because,
Yeah.
um,
Like, I don't know if they're asking it, can we assist, or I
we'll
don't
go back to that one.
we'll go back to that.
Yeah. If that's your question, can you please rephrase that
Yeah, please try to rephrase that so we
and
can
put it
answer.
in the form of an answer like Jeopardy, please?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
So we don't have to answer it. um, do either of you have memory of being galactic emissaries? No.
No, I do not.
I have wild memories and experiences, but not anything of that nature. Um,
Heard of SRT, spirit release therapy? I have not heard of that.
I had a
I've
session
heard
done
of
on
a lot.
myself and my family members. All of us had at least one spirit attachment. My father had a gargoyle attached to him. I mean, I've had very similar sessions where I've had that done. I've never heard it called that. Um,
Right. I've never heard that term, but I've heard
right.
of that type of thing. Yeah.
And I do believe in it, and I do think everyone should go have, if you're guided. I'm not like telling you what to do, but what I come to realize, when I first got into this and I found Reiki and all that stuff, I didn't know that I had an attachment working through me. from my party days. It had been with me for a long time. And until I had discovered Reiki and went down that path, um, I didn't know it was there. And I was able to address it and release it, right? And get rid of it. And my life changed. I had to learn, I had to go back to the drawing board and figure out who I was again, because this thing had been like working through me, and it was responsible for a lot of the, I guess, negative things I was doing as far as drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. I wouldn't say like ultimately, it was me, but I think it was definitely influencing me to a certain level. Anyway, I think that if that's potentially possible with everyone who's never actually had a session, and doesn't know what's going on with them energetically, and isn't practicing healthy, doesn't have a healthy spiritual practice. So I do agree with that type of stuff. Yes.
Absolutely.
Question: is Aaron single?
No, I am not. I'll answer that. No, I'm not. It's
it,
not classified.
it's classified.
It's
No.
classified, but it is classified actually. Even though I just answered.
um, Sign up for our Patreon to find out. No.
Sign up for our Patreon to find out.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a good,
And you just
use
sign
that
up
as a
and you
marketing for
just
our
sign
Patreon.
up and it says no.
It says no.
Yeah. All right. What would be the highlights, both good and bad, you've experienced with current vibrational changes? Do you feel a bigger change coming in the next years? I mean,
I'll let you
it
answer.
depends on the vibrational change. There's always good and bad feelings that go along with it. I did not that long, but I would say 6 months ago, I experienced a negative vibration change, and some things happened in my life, and I actually kind of slipped back into a frequency that I didn't even realize was I was in until I was out of it 6 months later. Maybe it wasn't fully 6 months. I don't know. But what happened was I things got actually good in life. Like when you're in the Matrix and the whole ignorance is bliss thing, and life just seems good. Um,
Mhm.
that's kind of where I went back to. And what I noticed was old friends and girlfriends and all these people and old situations like were coming back into my reality. And it was so weird until it dawned on me. I'm like, whoa, like I saw this is where this other entity was actually working through people and sending them into my life, right? So it was this negative,
Mm.
like it ultimately was a negative shift because I quit getting attacked astrally at night, but they didn't need to attack me because like I don't know how I slipped back into this frequency, right? And ultimately I would say it was a negative shift. And then climbing out of that, it was like I didn't go back to where I was before that, but I went above it. It was like it was like this leap, and it's been an amazing shift. And I feel like maybe it happened for a reason,
Mhm.
and it's just like a reminder that like anything can happen. It doesn't matter how like protected we think we are, how safe we think we are at any moment during these times right now. If we're not constantly consciously making decisions every day, the right choice every day to steer yourself down the positive timeline, you're going to unconsciously make a decision that's going to send you down to the a lesser, lower timeline. So I think that's what
Right.
happened. um I don't even know if they answered the question, but it's definitely, it is rewarding, and it's very, it sucks realizing that you kind of allowed yourself to fall down, but then whenever you understand it and you find it within you to climb back out of it, and you seek the help, and don't be afraid to ask for help, because we're all here to help each other, and you have the humility to self-correct and realize, okay, I need to do something about this. Then once you rise above that and pull yourself out of it, it's super gratifying, it's super rewarding, and it's like you come out, the blinders come off, and you're
Mhm.
reconnected again, your third eye is open, and it becomes pretty awesome. So that's my answer to that
Right.
question.
And then it's a blessing in disguise because it got you up to that next level or whatever. You know, um, even if you went months, being in that, once you expand or once you grow to a certain level, you kind of like anchor into this next level, and then you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube, as I like to say. Um, so like doesn't mean you're like impervious now. You still have to be, conscious and, you know, be put up protection and all that, and you still have growing to do, but you're everything like below that, you're already outgrown, and now it's not going to be like the things that used to entice you and used to get you easily caught up in it. You're not even going to be like, you're like, yeah, that's not even attractive at all to me anymore.
Right. It
You
doesn't
know,
appeal.
you've already
Right.
outgrown it, right? You've already learned those lessons. You don't need to. You once you really get the lessons, once you really learn the lessons, they stop. uh the universe stops like keep giving them to you. Because like this is what, like, if you ever notice like the same types of situations keep happening over and over and over and over in your life, and you're like, why does this keep happening to me? Well, it's because it's the lesson you're not getting, you're not
Right.
learning, so it's going to keep happening
Precisely.
until you get it, until you learn what it's trying to teach you, until you
Precisely.
grow to where it's trying to get you to, and then once you do, it's going to stop happening. That's how it works.
Well
um
said. Well said.
thank you.
We got a lot of questions to get to, so we're going to
Yeah, we
move
do.
on. What do you think? What do you think you would have been doing now if you guys did not start Journey to the Truth podcast? I actually don't think about that because I think it wouldn't have happened any other way. I feel like this is what we're meant to be doing.
Right. I used to play in bands. I would say maybe that, but I actually quit my last band before we ever started the podcast.
Right.
And the
Same.
timing of it was so auspicious because it was like a few months after I quit that band is when you and I started the podcast. And then that became like the next mission that I was meant to be on.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I used to like we're all taught like, what's your 5 year plan? What do you see yourself in 5 years? And
Mhm.
that's like, I realized that's the ultimate trap. Um,
Yeah.
and that I didn't understand that I was creating tons of anxiety for myself until I saw this psychic at this psychic fair, and she told
Mhm.
me I was telling her all this stuff that in 5 years I was like telling her the 5 year plan I had. I was young, and she's like, "Whoa, whoa!" She's like, "Just stop." She goes, "Don't worry about any of that." She goes, "What do you need to take care of right now? Like right now. It doesn't matter
Right.
if you got to go clean out your garage, whatever it is. What's the next thing that you have to do today?" And I was like, I forgot whatever I said. And she's like, focus on that. And then the next
Mhm.
step will present itself. She goes, you're going to create so much anxiety for yourself trying to figure out what you're doing 5 years from now. Like you're going to miss all the opportunities along the way. And it was the best advice I ever got.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Yep.
And honestly, like I don't have a plan. Like I don't have a plan. I'm just like, I'm being present and it just shows up. And that's how we're even still doing the
Yeah,
podcast.
there's a
Going
guy I
daily.
follow called Phil Good. I don't know if any of you have heard of him, but I love him. I think he's super on point. It's just full of wisdom, and he calls it living as a dot. So he always says, "I live as a dot." He's like, most people live as a line, where they want to plan out their whole life. They want to plan out all this into the future. He's like, what you're doing though when you do that is you're tying yourself into all these things that you're planning, and it's what your ego at this moment thinks it wants or thinks it has to do, but that's most likely not the highest timeline or the highest good for you. That's just what you think you have to do or think you want to do, and then you're tying yourself into that, and it keeps you stuck. It keeps you stuck in this singular place that is like, and then it's boring because then you're like, okay, if you already have the next 5 years or whatever years planned out, now you're just like going along this track, this pre-planned track, and that's like, where's the growth in that? Where's the excitement and growth in that?
Right. And you
Not
miss
there.
out. You
You're
shut
missing
yourself,
out.
you shut yourself off to opportunities, glorious
Right.
opportunities.
Right.
Yeah.
And now you're shutting yourself off from all this amazing stuff that you could be experiencing, or
Right.
this exciting stuff you could have been experiencing that whole time
Right.
because you thought you had to plan out and go on this one track.
Right.
So
No,
he's like, I live
it'd
as
be
a
like,
dot, where he's like, I am always in the now, in the present, and I'm always doing what the most exciting, the most whatever I really want to do in the now moment, from like on a soul level, not what the ego, because the ego can think it wants things. You really
right,
got to be
right.
in touch with your soul.
Well, it's like
Live
saying
as a dot.
no. It's like saying no to a vacation or something, hey, you want to go here? It's going to be amazing. It's whatever. And like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I can't. I promise I'm saving for a boat right now. And I want to get this boat by the end of the year. I set a goal for myself. And then, you're just like, yeah, obviously the goal's great, but you start turning down amazing life-changing opportunities because you're focused on like this physical object that really is
Right.
ultimately going to bring you surface level pleasure anyway, you know.
Right. And then you got to
So
ask yourself, why am I so attached to this one thing happening or this one thing rather
right,
than, letting the universe bring, you know, excite me with like
right.
wow me with something.
Our next question. I'd love to hear more about your recent abductions. You mentioned them briefly here and there. What's going on? I will share one. I've shared before, but I realize not everyone listens to everything. So it was happened on whenever the most recent daylight savings was. What was the date? Actually, no. Whenever it was. Anyway, I uh I woke up sideways that Sunday morning. I woke up in my bed like the opposite direction, completely like dazed, like I knew I had been somewhere. I knew something just happened, but I didn't know what happened. And I was like, whoa, I don't know. I just felt like something happened. And I had a memory. The memory I had was standing in my living room with this bright ass light coming through the window and like in the middle of the night. And I remember thinking to myself, like, is my roommate coming home in the middle of the night and is that his headlights? And as soon as I thought, is it his headlights? He came walking out of his bedroom in the memory. He came walking out of his bedroom and he's like, dude, what is that light? And it's like, I thought it was you coming home. I thought it was your headlights. He's like, no, man. He's like, what is that? And he opened up the front door to like see what the lights were. And as he was opening the front door, I walked over to peek out the blinds. And that was it. That was where the memory ended. Next thing you know, I'm laying in bed sideways. No idea what happened, but I know something happened. I couldn't stop thinking about it because I just felt weird. My body, my energy was different. And eventually later on that day, like I even overslept by 2 hours. Like I was missing phone calls and I was out. Like I missed my alarm. I missed everything that morning. And I was actually late for somewhere. That's how like much I was out. Later on that day, I my roommate texted me and I don't even know what compelled me. I wanted to tell him about it, but I didn't know how he would like react to me telling him like the memory I had. So I said, "Oh, by the way, I think we were abducted by aliens last night." Just LOL. And he's like, "Dude," he's like, "Why did you just say that?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Something happened to me last night." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I woke up." He said, "I passed out." He goes, "I never sleep through the night." He goes, "I'm always getting up and peeing. I can't." He has trouble sleeping, all this stuff. And he was like, I passed out and I was just out for hours. And I woke up soaking wet. I was completely soaking wet. My clothes were drenched. I had to go take a shower. And he's like, something happened to me. I knew something happened, but he goes, "Tell me, what do you remember?" And I told him the memory. He's like, "I don't remember that, but I believe you." He's like, "I know something happened to me." So I
Wow.
think we were collectively like taken that night. And I just was left with the memory of us being in the living room, but I don't remember waking up and walking into the living room. The memory is just like I'm all of a sudden I'm standing there, you know? So
Wow. Yeah, something happened to you guys for sure.
that was one of my recent ones.
How long ago was that?
The most recent daylight savings time, a couple months ago.
Oh, that was just a couple months ago. Wow.
Yeah. Now I need to look up and see what date that was.
Or that was more than a couple. That was,
Well, this year,
yeah, earlier this year. Yeah.
Sunday, March 12th.
Yeah,
So
March. Yeah.
March 12th was when it was. So there you go. The March 12th, the daylight savings time abduction.
Yeah.
um, you
All
want to
right.
read
Next
that next
question.
question?
Oh, am I reading it? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I'm leaning hard into us being the high tech that can defend against benevolent techs. Are you two working on any conscious tech within yourselves, meditation, intentions, physical? Um, if you're, I think what you're trying to say is like you're realizing we are technology ourselves, which is true. Um, and we just need to tap into that. And yeah, absolutely, I meditate. I need to do it more, but um, I do meditate. I set intentions. I visualize and all that,
I mean,
and
it's like,
try to be conscious of what I'm manifesting, as in what my intentions are. I try to be more conscious of that, and like where my emotions are, and what healing I need to do, and what I'm putting out there,
mhm.
Good.
I mean, I agree. I think every time over the years since 2011, since I've been, under attack, quote, attack by these negative entities, ultimately I gain something from each experience, and I have like a new tool under my belt. And ultimately, like I visualize them as tools, but really they're just forms of protection and abilities that I have innately within me. But that darkness is actually helping me unlock that. So
Mm-hmm.
I really do, like, as far as it goes, yeah, like I definitely have been um unlocking the tech within inside me, if you want to use that term. Excuse me. Question: Tyler and Aaron, what advice would you give to people who have testimonies to share but don't feel safe coming forward? I have great advice for you, and this is what I've realized from people who reach out to us. They have stories to share. Sometimes these people, they're adamant they don't want to come on the show. Just to be clear, I don't want to come on your podcast, but I really want to share the story with you guys. And then once they share the story, that's enough for them. And they feel like they got it off their chest, and it's healing in itself just to say it out loud. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say you don't have to come forward publicly. Just find somebody that you feel safe with, and share it with them. And if you do,
Right.
if that's not enough, like then you can reach out to somebody like us or somebody, whoever you feel comfortable sharing it with. It's going to make you feel better about the experience. That's what I would do.
Yeah, what Tyler said. um
It's like therapy, I feel like.
right. Don't think you have to go on a show just because you're supposed to or something. Like if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right, then that's where you're at. But like Tyler said, share it with whoever feels safe. um and maybe in the future, if you get to a point where you're like, okay, I feel like I'm ready and I want to bring this on a show to get this out to more people. And usually that coincides with people feel like more people need to hear this, because it's going to help. It's going to help people to hear this, especially the people that have experiences similar to this, so they don't feel so alone. So they're like, oh my gosh, that person has the same experience I've had. And that
Right.
validates their own experience. And then they feel more empowered to share it. And this is part of the thing. Because here's the thing, like I talk about people waking up. Well, it's also part of that is so many people on the planet have had so many experiences and things that they, because of the collective false matrix that has been created, they think, oh, I'm going to be labeled as weird, or think I'm weird or crazy if I talk about this, or my own family or friends are going to not want to talk, think I'm weird, blah, blah. But the more of us that come out and talk about this stuff, the more those people feel safe and comfortable talking about it, and then it just snowballs, right? And then it becomes no longer this weird fringe thing that people are like, oh, that's weird. Oh, you must be crazy. Whoa, that's weird. No, it's then just like, okay, this is happening. And then enough of us, it
Right.
becomes, what am I trying to say? It becomes more normalized in society, where it's just like, hey, everyone knows this is happening. Everyone knows ETs are here. Everyone knows
Right.
this technology exists. Everyone knows this is happening, and then that's going to, think of how powerful that is for the collective reality that we're going
Right.
to start like waking up to that
Well,
stuff.
and that's what I always said too. Like as soon as you start speaking your truth, you attract the right people into your life, and the wrong
Right.
people fall away. So you just become in alignment. You start to align. Things start to align for you. Somebody
Right.
made a good point. Daylight savings time is coming up this weekend, so I should watch out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what is next? Question: Did the Earth go fourth density in 2012, and we are 3D beings transmitting into the fourth? I don't know the answer to that, so I can't say one way or the other, but I definitely think we are transitioning into the
Yeah.
higher frequencies. So yes.
I don't, yeah. I mean, you can put whatever labels you want, and I don't know the answer to that either exactly. But what I do know is that the Earth is ascending, the Earth is moving up in frequency. And there's actual real scientific data you can actually find that corroborates that, which is interesting. And you can feel it yourself. There's all kinds of evidence and proof of that. But yeah, I just don't like to put labels. I just don't like labels in general for a lot of things, because I think you're kind of like, you're getting caught up in your head and trying to box things into, oh, is it this? It's like, well, who cares what label you want to put? All that matters is that it's happening, right?
Right. It's happening.
It's happening. That's all that
Wow.
matters.
All right, let's get through. We have quite a bit of questions still, so but absolutely I agree with the label thing. Um, do you all think ghosts are just us from a parallel universe bleeding into this reality and could be why we have deja vu? No,
Maybe
I don't. I
some of
do
it is
some of
that.
it maybe, but I don't think
Maybe.
that's the answer for all of it. I
No.
think I think a lot of them are trapped souls,
Mhm.
deceased loved ones, or whatever. I think it's every individual is going to have their own story, and it's
Earthbound
gonna,
spirits is
yeah,
is a better way I like to say as
right.
what ghosts are. They're people that have died, but for a multitude of reasons they did not cross over, because usually it's because of fear, self-worth, religious.
You're breaking up, Aaron. Aaron froze up. Can you guys still hear Aaron? I don't, he froze up for me. Um, let me know in the comments, please, if we lost Aaron. But he was getting ready to say religious beliefs. So hang on. Is he here? Yeah, I mean, it depends on who you are and what you believed in and what, where you were at on your soul's journey on whether or not you're gonna transition or
Sorry, I
not.
dropped out.
Yeah, I'm
My
finishing your
back.
answer. I was finishing your answer for you. They said
Oh, thank you.
the ghost got him.
The
Yeah,
ghost got me.
he turned into a
They
ghost. He
didn't like me talking.
transitioned before our eyes.
Right.
Uh, anyway, yeah, I was just saying, like, it really depends on like what you believed in, who you were, where you were on
Mhm.
your spiritual journey, like where you on your
Where your
soul's
vibration was at.
evolution. Well, and where you are
Right.
in your soul's evolution. I think it all depends
Right.
on what
Right.
happens to you. So,
Well, and a lot of people that die really traumatic deaths get trapped because of the trauma, because of such the intensity of the trauma that they just can't, they
right.
get like that dense energy
Well, and
traps.
so deja vu's been explained a number of different ways also, and one of them is one that I like is from the book Thea Uber Prophecy. It says before you even incarnate, you see your whole life. You already know your whole life story anyway. Like you see
Mhm.
it play out, you know how you're gonna die, you know everything. So then when you get when you encounter certain moments in life, sometimes that memory bleeds through from the life review that you already witnessed before you incarnated. And in that book, that's the way deja vu is explained. I
Mhm.
also think it can mean a number of other things. I don't think that's the only answer, because we understand that, the timeline manipulation, the secret space programs, like there's so many things going on and so many different versions of ourselves. I don't think there's any one answer for that.
Right. I think you're right. There's a multiple reasons for deja vu. And when you understand time is an illusion, uh, time exists as an experience for us in 3D. But when you get to the higher levels, time is completely different. Like it doesn't exist like it does here. And a lot of
Aaron,
ETs can travel throughout, travel in time and can manipulate time. And that's why, like, you hear about ET abductions. They abduct you, they can wipe your memory and put you right back in time in the exact spot and the exact point in time that you left without looking like nothing ever happened. And then you have no memory and you just go on. And this is what, like, the 20 and back with
right.
the secret space program, same thing happens. They're able to put you right back in time 20 years back, and then the exact point, because to them this is like everyday
or
stuff.
or 8 hours and back. It can be any amount of time.
Any amount of time. Yeah. Time
And
is not what we
another,
think.
while we're on that topic, first of all, somebody said I can't ignore this comment. They're like, he ghosted us, talking about you, and he really did.
Yeah.
Um, that's what he did.
Yes.
He
Good
ghosted
one.
us.
I did
Um,
ghost you guys.
so you might have
Um,
heard me say this on a previous episode, but the Halo series on Paramount Plus, it depicts the secret space program and being abducted as
mm,
a child and being the super soldier program. The whole thing, it's major disclosure. But the one difference from all the testimonies, not all of them, because some of them do involve clones, right?
mhm,
In the show, they don't take the person and bring them back. They what they do is take the original person and replace them with a clone, and the clone just grows up with the family, the mom and dad. The parents don't even know their son is now a clone, you know. And the reason that they can't use the original person, or the reason they can't use just a clone in the program, is because the actual original soul has the abilities that are sought
mm,
after. The clone
right.
isn't going to have the same abilities that the original front, what they call like a front alter, has. So
Mhm,
that's why they need actually you in the show instead of, and they replace you with the clone, and the clone just grows up and has no idea that anything happened. The parents don't know. Anyway,
mhm.
just side note, I just think that's an interesting aspect.
Yeah. Real quick, real quick. So just to clarify, because I just see I don't I see this comment a lot with the 20 and back, because this just shows you how programmed we are with time, right? As if it's this fixed thing that cannot be manipulated, and that's not what it is at all. We really have been programmed with a false view of what time even is and nature of reality, but that's the whole thing. Anyways, I see this comment over and over and over again. If they were taken for 20 years, wouldn't their family have known they were missing for 20 years? And why wasn't anyone looking for them? And they're like, it's like, no, you're not getting it. They were brought back after the 20. They spent 20 years up there, brought back and put back at the exact moment in time they were taken. So in this, and there's really two different timelines, and Tony Rodriguez talks about this all the time. And your main timeline, it's like nothing ever happened. It's like you were never gone, nothing. It's like nothing ever happened, even though it did, right?
Mhm.
So that person that was taken and spent 20 years in their Earth timeline, they were, nothing happened, and their memory was wiped, so they have no memory initially until they get their memories start coming back. So no, they were not gone for 20 years. That's not what happened. They
Right.
they were, but they were not in the Earth timeline, because time is not what we think it is.
Well, it's people that hear it and don't do any research. You know, they just
Right.
immediately like, oh,
But I
bullshit.
just see that comment over and over and over again, and I'm just like, okay, some people just aren't getting that aspect of it.
Well,
Well,
and
the age
they will.
regression, I feel a lot of people have a problem with. Like, well, wouldn't they have grown up, and then how could they? They would be an adult suddenly. It's like, well, they were age regressed also back to the age that they were taken at, and a lot of people can't wrap their
Well,
minds
we're
around how that's possible. But
we're
that's
talking
very,
about technology far in advance of ours, so
yeah, guys, we're talking about
we need to
technology
understand.
thousands of years advanced of where, like, think about 100 years ago. If you brought like your iPhone or a smartphone back to somebody 100 years ago, they think it's magic. Like they'd be like, their brains would explode.
Or a drone. You start
That's a
flying a
100
drone.
years, or a
Fly a drone
drone, or so many
around.
things, a
Well,
computer. That's 100 years. Think about thousands of years. We can't even fathom how much more advanced technology will get in thousands of years just from where we're at on Earth. Now think about civilizations that have been around for way longer, that have been advanced hundreds of thousands of years of us. It's going to seem like magic to us. They can basically do anything.
right.
And yeah,
Well,
who is it that even said like anything that you can imagine, we already know how to do. Like
oh, that
anything
was
you can
Ben
even
Rich.
imagine, like we've already done a long time ago, and like
That was Ben Rich,
yeah,
yeah.
been rich, yeah.
Lucky.
So
All right.
it's not far fetched, guys. Like when you really understand what's going on here. Anyways, sorry,
Um,
just had to get
that's all
that.
right. We have some more questions here. We're gonna probably wrap this up around 2 hours, so about 25 minutes. Um, what are your thoughts on the Mothercraft space arcs and what is being found on them? Who's really in charge? I think that honestly, guys, I think that's a distraction narrative that I feel like maybe that's actually going on. I just think that's some of the like clickbait stuff, and like that's some of the stuff that's being sold to the community that really is like irrelevant, to be perfectly honest, if I'm being honest. But I also don't discount that it's
Yeah.
happening and it might be real, but I'm not guided to follow
There
that.
might Yeah, there might be
Yeah.
some reality to that, but I don't buy into the like you said, the clickbaity stuff that gets like pushed by certain people out
Right.
there.
It is always conveniently have some new information to share, to keep people. It's
Right.
like watching Oak
To
Island
keep
for
people
the
hooked.
10th
Right.
season in a row. Yeah.
Right. It's like a show.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
Are you guys are you guys star seeds? If yes, I mean,
Yes.
yes. I mean, I would almost say everyone's a star seed who's waking up. If you're having an awakening,
If
you're a star seed.
if you're watching this right now, you're
Right.
probably
And when have you realized that you were different? When I went through my awakening, and it's not that I'm different, and I just realized that I'm capable of so much more.
yep.
Um, how will you
How will you
know?
know it's a screen? Oh, sorry.
Go
Oh, you
ahead.
know it's a screen memory. That's a good question. That's a really good question. How do you know if a memory is real or if it might be a screen memory? You can answer that.
So there's a number of different ways to look at this, and we've actually covered this in older episodes. I remember we did I think it was our first or second episode with Johan Fritz and Jody Reynosa together, where we really covered screen memories. And I think we did it justice. But if you want to go back and watch that, but for one, it might not be a screen memory, but it can be a screen image in a memory. So here's a perfect example. If you if you have a memory where you were being like taken, but the person taking you was a cleaning lady or something really weird, and
Mm-hmm.
like you're taken by this cleaning lady onto a ship or whatever, it's obviously like the cleaning lady is the screen memory for the ET rep, whatever it is that doesn't want you to see who they are, because you would never go with that person. It's scary. So they present themselves as something different in the memory, in the experience. Other times, I think a great example of a screen memory is a reoccurring dream. Like, man, I've had the same dream 10 times now, and it's the same thing over and over. I'm taking on this craft and doing blah, blah, blah. I think that is a telltale sign for a screen memory, in my personal opinion. I think they want you to remember that. So every time that you're taken, you just get the same memory that plays in your head, and you don't actually know what's happening to you each
Mm-hmm.
time. It's just like they just like install it, and then
They
that's
hope
the
you
dream.
don't dig any
Right,
deeper and you just accept it, right?
right. And so the only way to actually know is to really get to know yourself and feel into it and
Mm-hmm.
understand, like, and explore it. If you feel guided to explore it, go have a session, a QHHT session. Seek out hypnosis and go back into that moment. And a good practitioner will help you dissolve that screen memory, and they'll help you identify the screen memory if it is a screen memory. Um, so I wouldn't, you would have to go to somebody who's actually well versed in that and understands screen memories.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend that. But ultimately, you just have to feel into it and know yourself and like, man, I just know that's not what happened. It was something else.
Right.
Um, would you interview Cliff High? I don't know.
I'm not opposed to
I'm
it.
not opposed. I mean, we do know an interesting story about him that kind of
Yeah.
turned us off to him years ago. But um,
But that being said, yeah, he's
right,
a smart guy and he's on to something for sure.
right,
Even though I don't agree with everything he says and is about personally.
right,
But he is on point with some stuff. And he's very smart and yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
right. But I'm also not
I'm also not like
like it
chomping at
doesn't
the
matter.
bit to
I
get
could either
either,
way. Sorry, Cliff,
Right.
if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry, Cliff, you're listening. We still love you.
right. Question: what do you guys think about the moon? Oh man, so the moon is becoming like the most hot conspiracy theory right now, especially on TikTok and Instagram, along with the flat Earth and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, I'm just gonna go with I really think it's a satellite that was brought here at some point. I think Earth existed without the moon for a number of years, and a specific ET group brought it here, and it serves as a space station. Um, and the backside is cluttered with bases of different groups of ETs, including our government. And in a nutshell, I think that's what's going on with it. Now, there's people think it's a hologram. People think, it's not solid, and people think a number of things about the moon at this point. Ultimately, we don't know. None of us have like been to the moon in this physical reality. Maybe some people have, right?
Well,
Um,
some of us have.
yeah, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like none
Yeah.
of like us watching the show.
Right.
So to sit there and argue with somebody about what it is or what it isn't is really irrelevant. So just feel into it again. But I mean, I'm sure you probably agree with that, Aaron.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, there you can do research on the moon, and so the moon is really interesting because if you go down a lot of rabbit holes that we've been down, it appears that the moon is actually a ship that was parked in orbit a long time ago. And it that lines up really well actually with even the scientific, even the mainstream like science, what they know about the moon, because everything about the moon doesn't make any sense if it's a natural object, if it's a natural moon. It's like it's too big, it's too this, it's too that. It doesn't, like, mainstream science even says this. They're like, it's really an anomaly. It doesn't make any sense. So they have to come up with these theories of what they think how it got there, but they always have to come up with a theory to explain because they have to have some kind of explanation. But they really are like baffled by the moon because they're like, it shouldn't be there.
Right.
Well, if it is a ship that was parked in orbit, that explains, and why it only faces one side, only faces the Earth at all times, like all these things. It explains all of it.
Right.
Just like,
And
when you put advanced technology and ETs into the equation, it explains so much of our reality, right? That doesn't make any sense otherwise.
well, and one of the arguments is the big argument is, the moon landing footage is faked. Yes, a large
Yes,
portion of it was
they
fake.
they
So,
used fake footage. That doesn't mean they didn't go to the moon. It's possible that they went and they also showed fake footage, or at least a lot of
well,
it was the fake footage.
well, actually, in our webinar about the dumbs, I played that clip from that Area 51 whistleblower from 2008, and he explains it pretty well, and it pretty much lines up with
Mhm.
William Tompkins' testimony as well.
Yeah,
But what he said is, there was astronauts that went to the moon,
right.
and he even quoted one of the astronauts. He said the air traffic there was so much air traffic you couldn't take a photograph without a UFO,
Right.
and there were
Right.
so many bases that you couldn't release a photo without airbrushing it
They
out. So,
they knew they could not show you the real footage because
right.
you would see all this stuff that is not supposed to exist.
So what they did
Right.
was NASA did their Photoshop thing, right? And they gave us some
Mhm.
photos what they could, but they realized it wasn't enough. So they realized quickly they had to
We
fake
got it.
they had to give us something. So they did
Right.
set up a stage at Area 51. And he even says if you go on Google Earth, you could see the remnants of a crater field that they created to film the rest
Mhm.
of the moon landing. So they showed you what they could, and then they filled in the blanks with the rest. So that's
Right.
why none of it makes any sense. And then that's why some of the astronauts, when they're asked about it, some of those astronauts that apparently went to the moon didn't. They were the guys on set at Area
They were on the
51.
set.
So like
Right.
the flat earthers, when they interview these guys, they're like, he's like, well, I didn't go to the moon. But
And then
and
they
they're like,
use
oh,
that as proof
boom,
of
space is
that the
fake.
Earth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Earth is
Oh, see,
flat.
that's proof. End of story.
Um,
Like, no, that's not.
so
But that's a whole other topic.
I truly I feel like that's what happened. I don't know, but that's what I feel like.
No, that's, yeah, everything. That's exactly what I think too. And when you actually do research it, you'll find that, okay, they did go to the moon, but they also filmed the fake footage, and most of what they showed was the fake footage, because there's all these bases and ships flying around and ETs and all this stuff. They're like,
Right.
okay, we cannot possibly airbrush out all of this stuff. Like, they knew they had to just show mostly the fake
Right. And even
footage.
like some people say that even like Mission Control Houston, like didn't were even being shown fake footage also.
Mhm.
Like
And they
they didn't
used,
even they
oh yeah,
like
sorry.
even NASA didn't know that they were seeing fake footage. That's
No,
one.
and that just shows you how compartmentalized
Right.
everything. It's so compartmentalized, guys. Like,
Right.
it's not like they're all in on it. That's not how it works. It's very compartmentalized,
Yeah.
very tightly controlled in that way. And they used, if you listen to like the astronauts talking to one another, they use these certain code terms, and one of them was So I think they use like Santa Claus as code for like ETs or
Yeah,
like
they
ET
had like code
ships.
word comms, their
Right.
comms.
And then one of them was what is it? Keep it less obvious, or keep it kilo. Yeah, kilo, keep it less obvious, KILO, where when they want to start talking about, hey, I'm seeing a ship or I'm seeing something that they can't overtly talk about, they say, you'll hear them say kilo, and then they'll start talking in this kind of like cryptic code. We're like, what are they
Right,
saying? They're talking like code. They'll say kilo because they're like, all right, go to keep it less obvious, start talking in code. And then
right,
they start saying these words that are like, they're saying, hey, I'm seeing a light, I'm seeing a ship, I'm seeing this, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking about the real stuff that they were
right.
seeing. It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Question, simulation theory. What are your thoughts on that? Man, in a sense, if you really want to like view our reality as a simulation, you can. Actually, our episode with Maureen Richmond, astrologer. I mean, I'm sorry, not astronomer. I asked her this because a lot of people think that astrology is proof that we're living in a simulation because it nails things so accurately down to a T. But her answer to that, which I don't remember exactly what she said, was the best answer to it I've ever heard. Um, but it depends on what you view as a simulation. Yeah, we have like the CIA documents and stuff that were released that say like we're living in like this simulated reality. I don't know. And you never know if those are released intentionally or not. Um, I don't know, Aaron. What do you think?
Um, can you repeat that one more time? Sorry.
The
We're,
what? The
we're,
the simulated reality.
simulated reality. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I mean, I I think it's reality. You could say is a type of simulation.
Yeah,
Type of like you could think of it that way, but that doesn't mean it's like it's literally a computer that we think of like a computer physical simulation in that way. But I think reality is you could think of it and like it's a simulation that like is being created by consciousness, to put it simply, um, which means consciousness has control over it, and that's been proven with quantum physics and so much, right? It's been proven, in my opinion,
right,
that and since we are all the same consciousness, basically, that we're all tapping into, we're all conscious uh, creator beings. That means you affect reality because reality is just a manifest. Everything's energy, right? Everything's energy. Your energy, everything you see is energy. What looks like physical reality is just vibrating energy, and what is energy? Well, ultimately it's light, and ultimately what's that? It's consciousness. It's
well,
all made of the same stuff.
and a lot of people they see like the glitches in the matrix right now. Like we see weird stuff,
Mm,
birds
right,
stopping in midair, people blipping out of reality, trees
right.
appearing where they shouldn't. What I think is the illusion, the illusion that we've been
It's,
dealt is failing, right?
it's breaking down,
It's
right?
breaking down. So we're going to start to see the weirdest things that don't make any sense because we've been living under a false matrix illusion. We don't actually know what reality looks like. And I think it's honestly, I feel like it's being maintained with like all the towers, like the grid of 5G towers all over the planet. I think that
Mm,
frequency actually helps maintain the illusion. And that's why we can't see
right,
certain UFOs and certain ETs. And that's why a politician
right.
could be a reptilian, but they really look like a human.
Right. So on top of like what I just said, they are also using technology, I think, to keep this five sense 3D matrix reality intact so that we don't so that we stay stuck in it basically, and that we keep
Right.
feeding into that. And that goes along with that. So
And Barry said timelines merging. That's also happening.
that's
Like
also happening. There's
like
so
we're
much
gonna be
happening right now. There's
like
multiple
the
things.
next closest like dimension you could say, which has advanced beings living there. Like we're bumping shoulders with it, and eventually we'll be merged. And I think that's when we'll have like first contact, right? Like these other ETs, like that
Mm,
exist just outside of our reality.
right.
They're gonna be one with us, and I
Right.
don't know how that's going to play out physically, but I will share what I was shown on mushrooms about our reality, and it did use a computer program as an analogy to help me understand it.
Hmm.
So it showed I was asking questions, and it, kind of zooms out, and I wanted to know. First of all, the first thing I asked was I wanted to know about the secret space program. I was like, I want to see like the mechanism of the secret space program. I want to see it, and they zoomed out and showed me Earth, which was round, but that's probably um whatever, my own lens. But they showed me Earth with like a grid of like craft, I guess you could say, and
Hmm.
space stations and everything, just completely encompassing it. And then it all turned black, and the entire planet turned into a black cloud, and it showed cancer. It showed me the word cancer. And so when I asked about the secret space program, it just said cancer. Like it's all done and operating under nefarious purposes. So like
Yeah.
that needs to go. We can't have anything
Yeah.
operating in secrecy where we're going. So then I asked, is there life on Venus? And Venus, they zoomed over to Venus, and Venus just melted away. And I got a download that life exists on Venus if you believe life exists on Venus. It's like you create like that reality. It was like trying to show me that even the planets, everything that we believe in is real in a sense.
Mm.
And it, I wanted to know about the Ascended Masters for some reason. I asked, and it showed me the Ascended Masters as a CD-ROM being like slid into the earth and uploaded like a program. And it was like it's a program, and it was the whole download was like it was a program just to help with the evolution of our consciousness, and like
Yeah.
every planet gets their own version of this program, and it didn't matter which ascended master, it didn't matter who you decide to believe in
Mm.
or it's or choose to
Yeah.
follow. It's all serving the same purpose. It doesn't matter. It's just like it's like a part of the program, right? And then it was showing me light language, and it was showing me light language, and it was showing me light language as like a system update. So all the light language coming through from different people right now, the entire system, the entire planet is being updated. So
Hmm.
when like even emotions have codes, and the light language is the coding for that program. So joy
Yeah.
would be a program, and the light language coming through for joy is like that being upgraded. You could also look at it as ascension, but this is all how it was showed to me on
Mm.
mushrooms. So, and I could keep going on and on, but it was really interesting. They kept using like a computer program software as an analogy to explain to me how everything worked. It's
Hmm.
so in a sense, it is a simulation, but like you said, we're creating it.
Right.
We're making it real.
Right. And DNA, well, what is DNA? It's code. So,
Exactly.
and, but we, and this is also proven, scientifically proven, that we have conscious control over our own DNA and what gets activated, and we can even change it. Um, yeah. But the DNA is like the code that creates you and creates your reality basically through you. And this is why do you think they're so obsessed with manipulating our DNA and with
Right.
our DNA, with DNA in general? What, like, we know that gets traded throughout the galaxy in these programs and stuff.
Right.
Because it's like special code that they can do so much with,
Hmm.
basically.
Yeah, it was super interesting. But like everything, every plant, tree, animal, human, object, everything, like all the light language coming through right now is like
Hmm.
allowing that frequency to shift. So
Yeah.
it is literally like a system update. And
Yeah.
that was what it was showing me. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
just my experience on mushrooms. So don't take any of that as fact, anyone listening to that. Um,
Yeah. That's pretty spot on from my experience as well. That's yeah.
do you remember past lives? Either of you. The only way I remember any of them is through past life regressions. And I've had quite a few, and every time it's been different. And we'd be here forever if I got into that, but shortly answered yes.
Not at this time. Um, though I have some suspicions, but I don't have any memories yet, and I personally haven't felt called to seek out those memories. Because here's the thing, like that can be a hindrance if it can if you get caught up too much in your in past lives and what you were in a past life and what traumas happened to you in a past life. Well, that can actually re-traumatize you a lot of times,
Right.
and then that it can actually do a lot more harm than good if you're not meant to know certain past lives in this life. Because really, all that matters is the now. That's really
Yeah.
all that matters. But if it's going to really help you to know certain past lives, especially if you have a trauma that stems from a certain past life, a lot of times then it's really helpful to go back to that so you can actually
And
heal from that
and you'll
trauma.
be guided to do that anyway. Like it'll just
Right.
happen if it's supposed to happen. If you're
If it's
supposed to
supposed to
remember
happen.
that, to heal something, then you will. But if it's not coming up, like and you go looking, eventually, yeah, like it might not be harmful, but it might just like we leave well enough alone, you know?
It might not be for your highest good to know about your past lives in this
Right.
lifetime, and that's okay.
Or space program memories or any of
Or
it.
even that. Right. Right. Or anything. It just depends on
Um,
what's for your highest good.
what percentage of cats do you think are aliens? All of them. Um,
Yeah.
I I actually think it's like what percentage of humans do you think are aliens? Like I don't know.
Right.
I don't really know.
We are our genetics are from ET. Like we're ETs. We've been ETs the whole time. We didn't even know it.
Have either of you seen your higher self in this experience? I believe I have one time, and I believe I channeled my higher self one time, and I've never been able to do it again. Um, I'm not positive that it was my higher self, but I feel like it was. So yes, and
Seen? I know. I think I get um downloads, I guess you could call it, or different knowings or different things coming through my higher self, and I feel connected. I feel connected to my higher self,
Mhm.
but I don't know like visually or anything. No, I haven't like seen it in that way.
Right. Next question. Do you think those upstairs will allow the use of nuclear weapons? I mean, I think we covered that on like every episode. No is the
Right.
ultimate answer.
No.
Um,
To put it simply, no, it will not be allowed
right.
in
There's
the
only a
next
couple
story.
left here, so let's get through these last few. Have you found the truth on your journey? Absolutely not. Like there's no end to the truth. Like it's a
Yes and
constant.
no.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. Like, but I mean, like, there's no ultimate truth where you're gonna get there and be like, oh, I'm done. Like, let's go.
Not a
You know.
destination that you arrive at and you're done. Right. It's
Right.
a
That's what I meant. Yeah.
continual. Yes.
Um.
Uh, have could you interview Honey C Golden or Tarot by Janine? We've already interviewed Tarot by Janine about a year and a half or so ago. We interviewed Tarot by Janine. So
Yeah.
if you go back, you can find that episode. It was really good. Um, Tyler, do you want to say
Yeah. A
Honey
number
C
of
Golden?
people have wanted us to reach out to Honey C. Golden, and I don't know if she's like a major flat earther or not. I don't know a whole lot about her, but I just haven't been guided
We
to
have
do
not
it.
been guided to. Yeah,
Um.
we checked her channel out and we just it didn't resonate. Just to put it simply.
Not saying everything she's saying is false, but like
Right,
ultimately we just decided we just weren't going to pursue it. So
right,
that's
right.
that.
So yeah.
Um, okay, so one last reminder for everybody who's here who didn't hear me earlier. If you want to win a free ticket to our conference next year, May 13th through 16th, Rebels of Disclosure, go sign up for our Patreon. It's only $5 and you're automatically entered to win. And if you're already a Patreon member, then you're automatically entered to win as well. So we are going to announce the winner next Thursday on the shows. So we're waiting until then, so anyone who watches the replay can have a chance to sign up. Um, also, make sure that if you don't win, you can take advantage of the early bird special, which ends on Black Friday at midnight. And the early bird comes with a discounted price and a free T-shirt, which you'll get at the door when you get to the conference, and you pick your T-shirt size at checkout. And the live stream, there's also an early bird price for the live stream tickets as well. And every in-person pass comes with a live stream ticket, so that's a cool bonus as well. Um, rebelsofdisclosure.com. That link is below. It has all the information. And our next webinar coming up in December. We don't have the date yet, but the next webinar on Patreon will be on Tartaria, the Pod People, the World's Fairs. And I'm super excited to get into that. And I'm even more excited to get into why all the Tartaria believers believe that the earth is flat, because
Not all, but a lot
Not
of them.
all, but like almost most of them that I come across. So I'm really interested to like, develop a theory on that and dive into this and see why that is and really break it down because I mean I kind of see where some of their arguments are, but you can make an argument for anything that you want to believe in. So
Right.
not saying that we're right either, but we're gonna explore that. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, you can poke holes in arguments that people think are like, it's like a lot of people, they have an argument, or they're like, oh, this is this, so that's done, that's the truth. And it's like, well, you come at it, you're like, well, you poke holes in it, and then it's like, okay, nope, the truth is not done. It's like maybe there's something else going on here, and
Someone said
maybe there's more that you haven't looked at.
right. Someone said, please answer my question. I don't know what question you had. One more did just
What
come through.
question?
I don't know what it was. One more question did just come
Oh,
through.
Loyal just posted another.
Oh, this is the one. Do you guys think Israel Gaza is prep work for false flag, ET Messiah, blue beam type of thing? Actually, we answered that already.
We did
You might
answer that, but we can say it again.
absolutely. We said
Yes.
they're gonna try and fake revelations and it's gonna be done over there. But we did answer that in detail earlier in the episode. So I
Yeah.
guess you tuned in later. But if you want to go back and listen to that answer, feel free to do that.
But I don't think that's going to lead to like, I don't, because some people think we're just headed towards this future of like millions and millions and millions of people are going to die, and it's just going to be mass chaos, and it's going to be, the new world order is going to take over, and blah blah blah. And no, like I personally don't believe that. I think there's going to be some chaos. I think there's going to be some death and destruction to some degree, which we're already seeing right now. But I know we're like, to put it simply, like Gaia is the planet we are on. We are living on a conscious being. So that being has decided to ascend, and so we're seeing right now the chaos that we're seeing, and that why it seems things are getting worse is because it's like detoxifying. It's all the things that were already here that we're now getting to experience, basically, that the darkness that's kind of like coming to the surface, right? But it's got to play out to some degree, and we've got to like experience to some degree. And the cabal that's still kind of on their way out, but they're still kind of here. They're gonna keep trying to play things out because they're desperate, and they're gonna try. They're gonna go down
They're
swinging.
addicted
Basically,
to the 3D reality, and
that's all they know,
they're not
right?
gonna let go of their addiction.
Right. So
Um,
so yeah, we're gonna see some wars and some things play out, but I don't think it's gonna lead to this massive. I don't think they're gonna be able to pull off a mass fake blue beam alien invasion where like the whole entire planet just devolves into chaos because of it. And like, that doesn't serve anything to me. Then it's like, okay, well, why did we come here just to experience that? And that doesn't
well,
make any sense.
ultimately, everybody's like given a choice anyway right now. Like, depending on where you are right
Right.
now, if Jesus, blue beam Jesus appeared in the sky right now,
Mm-hmm.
depending on where you are on your soul's evolution, where you are in your awakening, that's that's the deciding factor in that very moment. Like if you're aware of the blue beam invasion, if you're aware of the blue beam Jesus, or they're going to fake revelations, it's not going to affect you. It can't affect you.
Right.
It's only going to affect the people that don't understand. And for some reason, on a soul level, they have chosen consciously or unconsciously to
Mm-hmm.
not ascend this time around. That
Right.
doesn't mean that they're
Right.
not going to ultimately ascend. So it doesn't,
Right.
it's not just going to be like the whole planet is going to fall for this because we're talking about this. They can't pull it off. It's not going to affect us as it's going to affect somebody who's sleeping. Therefore, I mean, I guess you could say that's how the split occurs, and it's
Yeah.
ultimately like where you are right now when one of these events happens is the deciding factor on, what's going to happen to you.
Yeah. Where you're at consciously and where you're at vibrationally, it's not good or bad. Don't view it in that way. It's not like better. So, oh, we're better than, no. It's just where you're at. And that's, you're going to experience the things you need to experience that are going to actually serve you on your journey. Like, it's like if you're in like 12th grade, It'd be like you going back to first grade. You know, it's like it doesn't make any sense. You've already long mastered that. But there's a lot of people right now on the planet that are at like first grade, and then there's a lot of people that are at like 12th grade or closer to those. Well, at a certain point, those are going to split, and that's where the split. I think it's a timeline split more of where it's like you're gonna have these people that need the third density lessons. They need a lot more of those lifetimes and lessons. They're gonna go off on that,
Right.
either
And the
some other
thing
planet
is,
or on this planet that stays in third density or whatever, however that plays out.
and I
And the
want
rest
to,
of us are gonna go these higher,
yeah, and I want to remind everyone, like, we don't die anyway. Like,
right,
so all these people that are quote dying right now, they're just transitioning. Their journey continues. Like, this is
right.
all part of it anyway. Like, it's all part of it anyway. Yeah, there's going to be casualties and it's going to seem like doom and gloom, but it only seems like that because we've been programmed to understand that death is this horrific thing. The soul's transitioning. Back in Lemuria, in the Thea Uber prophecy, it describes death in Lemuria, and they would celebrate that soul. They would party, they would celebrate because they knew that soul was being freed from the physical body. They knew it was being freed. And it was like this celebration of life. Like they get to go on and break free from this, meat suit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it all depends on your perspective and how you view it. So,
Right.
um,
Right. What does every near death experiencer say when they die and they're like, oh my gosh, it was so much more real than here.
right,
You don't
exactly.
realize it until you experience it, and then you're like, oh my gosh, now you have this whole new perspective because you experienced a
Um,
more real reality than what this is right here. This is like a lower manifestation reality. It's still real, but it's actually more like a dream than when you get out of this reality.
right.
It seems more real, and that's what
Uh,
until you've experienced that, it's like hard for us to understand that, because you're like, wait, how can it be more real than this? This
mhm.
is reality. And like, no. No, this
two
is just
things,
all we know in this incarnation, unless you've experienced
two things I want to
realities.
address. Two things I want to address really quickly. This last question and then a comment. Do targeted individuals ever break free of technology, physically energetic attacks? Absolutely, if they want to. Some of them I see they play the victim to it. They choose to play the victim to it.
Right.
Sorry, guys, I'm not dogging you, but I see it happening,
I
and
see
it's
it so
ultimately up
much.
to you. I've experienced being a targeted individual, and I could have stayed there, but I had to climb above it. And I'm not saying that others don't have it worse than others, and maybe I can't speak for everyone, but I
And
do
we're not,
absolutely 100% believe yes, you can break free from that.
yeah, you absolutely can break free from
And
that.
then
It's not hopeless.
a lot of it's all mental, and
Right.
they're keeping your mind controlled. If you can break free and rise above that. Secondly, somebody said thumbs up for Foil being a full third time member of JTT. uh,
Yeah.
So Foil does help
Okay.
us out on these lives. Every time we go live, I reach out to her. She's always there. I can count on her, to grab these questions and put them in the chat for us, so we don't miss any. And she's amazing. We love you, Foil. Thank you so much for doing that. And hopefully we can do more episodes with you shortly. You decided to get this new job that wants to make you work on Sundays, so uh, we have to figure out a new schedule if we're going to do that. But we appreciate all your help. And if you guys haven't yet, you should go over and subscribe to her channel, Loyal to the Foil YouTube channel. I think that's the name of her channel, actually. The same handle that she is here in the chat. So we love you, Foil. Thank you for all your help.
We love you, Foil. You're amazing. Thank you.
And yeah, go sub to her channel, and hopefully we'll be
Yes.
doing another conspiracy theory trivia soon also. There's a lot to do. We're busy. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh anyway, thank you guys all for tuning in. Go sign up for our Patreon if you want to win a free ticket, a chance to win a free ticket for the conference, and we'll announce the winner next week. And if you're already a member, then you're already signed up, and hopefully you win. Fingers crossed. We'll be announcing them, like I said, on the show next week. And if you want more information about the conference, rebelsofdisclosure.com, that link is below in the description. We love you all. Thank you for being here. We can't do this without you. Seriously, I say that all the time, but like, I mean, literally the only reason. Your support and your loyalty is what keeps us going. So we appreciate that. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you. We love you all so much.
That being said, good night, everybody.
All right. Good night, guys.